a presentation, and I'll introduce Matt McCoy, who is the chair of the county supervisors, to come up in a moment. While if you want to come on up. And first of all, I just want to say we can't thank Prairie Meadows and the county for what they do for Des Moines. This check is indicative of an agreement that we have had, and it goes for rebuilding our roads and our bridges. And as many of you know, that we are the old community, that we have a lot of roads, and as you can look out here, a lot of bridges to do. And so we appreciate the partnership with Prairie Meadows and with Polk County. So Julie Stewart's here on behalf of Prairie Meadows.
Julie, you're going to go first.
I'll go first. Well, thank you. We are really proud of our partnership with Polk County and the city of Des Moines. It helps us fulfill our mission of giving back and to lessen the burden of government. And this partnership, these $7.4 million are unrestricted funds. So the city has chosen to improve our roads and bridges with that. And we are happy to be here tonight. So thank you, Mayor Bose.
Mayor, I'm going to present you with this check, and I also want to introduce our board who's here today. Angela Conley, Supervisor Conley, Jill Altringer, and Mark Holmes. All of them wanted to be part of this. Obviously, our relationship is very important with our capital city, and the great work that Des Moines does day in and day out, and the special challenges that we have as a city of Des Moines, and as a person that represents a piece of Des Moines. We all understand what some of those challenges are, and we do love our capital city, whether we're representing a suburb or not. We all love our capital city and understand the importance of role that plays in our community. So thank you for all you do, and happy to be part of this. And I think we'll all get a picture. Yeah.
Why doesn't all the council come on down? Not every day we get. So. The February 10th, 2025 Des Moines City Council meeting. Please take the roll.
Boson,
Here.
Simonson,
Here.
Voss,
Here.
Coleman,
Here.
Westergaard. Here. Mandelbaum,
Here.
Gatto.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Next item is proving the agenda as presented and or as amended. And this tonight we have 44 is updated, added council communication number 25-050, and 50 is the updated speaker list.
Move approval.
It's been moved and seconded. Please vote.
Mandelbaum, yes.
7 yes.
Motion carries. The next item is approving the consent agenda. So there's items 3 through 37. These are routine items and will be enacted by one roll call vote without separate discussion unless pursuant to council rules. Council requests an item to be removed to be considered separately. And tonight we have 4F, Gatto is abstaining, 5, Voss is no, 24, Voss would like to speak, 26 is Simonson is abstaining.
Move approval.
Been moved and seconded. Please vote.
Mandelbaum votes yes.
7 yes.
Motion carries. Next item. Is our hearings. So on item 38, on vacation of surface rights within a portion of 6th Avenue, right-of-way adjoining 3612 and 3614 6th Avenue, and the conveyance of a permanent easement for building encroachment, door swing to 36 on 6th LLC for $34. A is first consideration of the ordinance above. B is final consideration of ordinance above. Waiver requested by Tim Bratvold, manager, requires 6 votes. We allow germane comments from the general public, 2 minutes per person to speak, 10 minutes maximum. Is there anyone wishing to speak? Seeing no one, I'll entertain a motion.
Seeing none, I'll move item 38A and B.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Please vote.
Mandelbaum votes yes.
7 yes.
Motion carries. Next item is 39, on vacation of surface rights within portions of Indianola Avenue and East Hillside Avenue right-of-way adjoining 1961 Indianola Avenue and conveyance of a permanent easement for building encroachment, door swing to Optime Life Services, Inc. for $300. A is first consideration of ordinance above. B is final consideration of ordinance above. Waiver requested by William Dodds, Chair of the Board of Director, and requires 6 votes. Anyone wishing to speak? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I see none. I'll move 39A and B.
It's been moved and seconded. Please vote.
Mandelbaum votes yes.
Is that yes, Mandelbaum?
Yes.
7 yes.
Motion carries. Next item is 40. On request from Invest DSM, Inc., Christopher Civitat, officer to amend Plan DSM, creating our tomorrow comprehensive plan to revise the future land use classification from low-density residential within a neighborhood node to high-density residential within a neighborhood node, and to rezone property located in the vicinity of 3610 Fifth Avenue from MX1 mixed-use district to limited RX1 mixed-use district to allow redevelopment of the property for a multiple household building up to 12 dwelling units. A is first consideration of ordinance above. B is final consideration of ordinance above. Waiver requested by the applicant requires 6 votes. First will be the parties in interest, applicant for rezoning, and those within 250 feet of the property to be rezoned will be given up to 5 minutes to speak. Second is germane comments from the general public, 2 minutes per person to speak, 20 minutes maximum. Is there anyone wishing to speak to this? Seeing no one?
Seeing none, I'll move item 40, 40A, and 40B.
It's been moved and seconded. Please vote.
Mandelbaum is yes.
7 yes.
Motion carries. 41, on request from Big Deal Investments LLC, Dillon Brook Officer, to rezone property located at 1424 Army Post Road from RX1 Mixed Use District to Limited MX3 Mixed Use District to allow reuse of the property for vehicle sales and service vehicle rental use. A is the first consideration of ordinance above. B is the final consideration of ordinance above. Waiver requested by the applicant requires 6 votes. Again, this is first the parties in interest, an applicant for rezoning, and those within 250 feet of property to be rezoned will be given 5 minutes to speak. And the second would be any germane comments from the general public, 2 minutes per person, up to 20 minutes. Anyone wishing to speak to this? Seeing no one. Josh?
Yeah, I'm happy to move item 41, 41A, and 41B.
It's been moved and seconded. Please vote.
Mandelbaum, yes.
Mr. Coleman?
7 yes.
Motion carries. Item 42, on city-initiated request to rename a segment of Lake Ridge Avenue to Sweetwater Drive located to the east of Southeast 30th Street between East Army Post Road to the north and East Pine Avenue to the south. A is first consideration of the ordinance above. Germane comments from the general public, 2 minutes per person, up to 10 minutes. Anyone wishing to speak to this?
Your Honor, I see none. In pursuant to Rule 42A, I'll waive the second and third reading, and I will move 42A.
It's been moved and seconded. Please vote.
Mandelbaum votes yes.
7 yes.
Motion carries. Item number 43 on proposed connection of fee ordinance for East Army Post Road and Indianola Avenue Trunk Sanitary Sewer System Benefited District. Council Communication number 25-062. A is first consideration of the ordinance above. Anyone wishing to speak to this? You come up and you'll have 2 minutes to speak. Yeah, state your name. Yeah, state your name and address or ward.
Scott Peterson, Army Post Road, East Army Post Road in Indianola. I'm here to talk about the sewer project. I've been trying to get some answers as to what this whole project involves, and I seem to be getting different answers from the same person on multiple occasions, and that's the guy from engineering that I was directed to call when I received my public notice. Just this afternoon, I was finally able to try to see the document, and there shouldn't have been a problem looking at it. I'm directly affected, even though I've gotten the information to get a over $8,000 bill. They left me off of their plans for how they're going to hook me up. They're going to force me on sewer, but they don't want to hook me up in the plans. I have a lot of questions about this whole project, and to be notified simply 10 days ago that it was literally at its final steps is, in my opinion, a bit ridiculous. I would ask you to all to put this on hold for a period of time so that I can get some answers as a directly affected homeowner that has been getting the runaround from the engineering department. And I would just quite simply like to sit down with people that can get something done and gets figured out and find out how to correct the problems. I understand you're not going to stop this sewer district, but there's a lot of questions with the documents, both fiscally, how much money they're spending, how much money is being assessed to us as individual property owners. I understand the basis of it, but when I talk to these people that I'm instructed to talk to through the documents you mail to me, I get different answers depending on when I talk to them. And then I come in here today and I talk with the clerk, and turns out that some of this information was easily available all along, but he just never said so. So I would ask, delay this for a short period of time and tell me who to talk to be able to sit down.
Thank you. Your 2 minutes are up, sir.
So just real quick, I've been trying to get this done. I've been on the council 11 years. They've had water out there with no sewer. They've had sewer out there with no water. Part of the reason that there's never been any development on the southeast corridor. So now we are going to have sewer and water together. We will start seeing some development. So this has been talked about for years. I don't know what questions you need answered, but I will get you in contact with Steve Neighbor, and he will sit down with you. And if I need to come, I'm happy to do that to make sure all your questions are answered. But you know, this is something that we've been talking about for a long time. This is a long time coming that we've needed for that corridor and that quadrant of the city.
10 years ago, when I specifically asked about sewer coming to that area, I was told it was 20 years away.
Well, you got a good councilman, that's why.
I have a perfectly
I
fine
think
septic
this is the
system.
first consideration too, so
Yeah,
I think
I
we can defer and we'll get, I'll let the city manager.
Yeah, actually, and Steve, did you leave your contact information?
With who?
Anybody here at the city staff that I can then go to get your,
Can we just have
otherwise,
Steve meet him out there?
Steve, if I could have you meet with him,
Oh, there he is, right?
he's right here in the room, to at least get your contact information to set this up.
I'll be at my
Okay.
seat till the
City
meeting's
engineer.
over.
Yep.
City
Okay,
engineer,
thank you.
city engineer will get your information. We can all sit down, and if I need to come, I'm happy to do that.
I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming down.
Okay, so
Is there
anybody else wishing to speak? Come on up and state your name and your address or ward.
My name's Michael Atkin. I live on East Leland. We're a block north of Army Post Road. And our street runs off Indianola Road. Who's affected by this? And when you put sewer in, don't you have paved streets and storm sewers and that kind of stuff when you put the sewer in? Or do you run down the back?
Sanitation sewer.
This is
not a storm sewer. This is a sanitation
Yes,
sewer.
but we don't have storm sewers, we don't have
And we don't have that
sanitary sewer.
because there's been no development that's gone into that area because
So
there
who's-
hasn't been any sanitation.
Who's benefiting from all the sewer going down Army Post Road? Is
I
it
think that-
is it Chido's Gardens, the old farm east of me, that 600 acres there?
I think the
North
whole,
of,
the whole corridor will benefit from this sewer. More taxable dollars that can help pay all of our.
Does that include a street that's a block north of Army Post Road?
Only if a developer comes in and paves your street and has a development going in there. And there hasn't been any development in that area because there hasn't been any sewer or water together. Some like I said, some of it's had water.
We have sewer all around us where I live. All the dead-end streets that border Ewing Park, we're all on septic tanks. Some people have wells. I just want to know, in 1988, you forced us into the city and you said you'd take care of us. Well, I haven't seen anything. We have natural gas, which we got 10 years ago. So all I'm doing is paying more taxes, and it's unfair.
I think it also would be where, I think with the other gentleman, maybe you can meet with Steve Neighbors all at once, and since you're both affected by the same issue, or the same item, and it's really,
You are going to get the amenity of being on the city sewer system now.
Am I going to be 100 years old by the time we get that, though?
No, that's why we're voting on it now, so we get it done.
do we,
That's what we're doing. So
Well,
yeah,
thanks.
it'll be within the next year to two, it'll be finished.
anyone else wishing to speak to this?
I see none, Your Honor. I will move the first reading, 43A, 43 and 43A. And then we'll come back after their questions are answered, the next
Other
council
meetings.
meeting, and we'll do the second and third reading at that time.
Okay.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Please vote.
Mandelbaum votes yes.
7 yes.
Motion carries. Next item is 44 on request from Faithful Moments LLC, Adam Siren, officer, to amend the Plan DSM, creating our tomorrow comprehensive plan to revise the future land use classification for property located at 5702 Grand Avenue from low-density residential to low-medium-density residential, and to rezone from N3C Neighborhood District to the limited NX2 Neighborhood Mixed District to allow the redevelopment of the property for row home buildings. Continued from January 27th meeting. Approval requires 6 votes due to the Planning and Zoning Commission recommending denial and due to the opposition of greater than 20% of the relevant property owners. Council Communication number 25-050. A is the first consideration of the ordinance above. B is the final consideration of the ordinance above. Waiver requested by applicant. Requires 6 votes. First is the parties in interest, applicant for rezoning, and those within 250 feet of the property to be rezoned will be given up to 5 minutes to speak. Second is germane comments from the general public, 2 minutes per person to speak, 20 minutes maximum. Is anybody of the party of the interest here? So if you could come over, you'll have up to 5 minutes each, and I would say if you have something different from what everyone else is saying or something, bring something. So are you within 250 feet? No. So we need to have the others come first.
I'm within 250 feet.
Right.
My name is Sharon Cooley. I still live at 5715 Grand like I did 2 weeks ago. I have to say that I don't have prepared remarks tonight, but what I have been doing is thinking a lot about how this all transpired last time. And I honestly left here feeling kind of shocked at how this went. And I think part of that for me was that the Planning and Zoning Commission not only declined to move this forward, they denied it. And they denied it by debating each other. And I don't know that I felt that we were heard in this process last time by this committee. And so the couple of things I've tried to figure out is what is motivating this specific project moving forward. You've got a whole bunch of neighbors that have signed off on the petition, by the way, including Frank County signed our petition. We have stood up here and given you very specific and well-organized discussion about how this does not fit with Plan DSM or reflect DSM, and yet I don't feel like we got heard at all last time. And if we can't persuade this committee, I don't know what would. And so I'm asking you guys to use your best practices. I would want your best practices if you were my surgeon. I wouldn't want you going, well, this is pretty close to a good procedure for you. I want you guys doing your best for us. This is not your best for us. And I would think that part of the issue here is I feel that familiarity breeds favor. You don't know us. We're strangers to you. You know Mr. Siren. You've done business with him before. And I feel like there's a thumb on the scale here. And I don't think that's fair to your constituents. And I think Mr. Siren is a very good salesman. I think he has sold you that this is the right thing to do. And I'm telling you guys that I think you can do the development in this city in a responsible way that is commensurate with Plan DSM without sacrificing your best practices. And so I would ask you to give serious consideration to this, because if you get this wrong, you don't get a second vote. And one other thing I just want to bring up quickly is when he was standing up here last time, he was talking about the trees that he has to plant, the 39 saplings. And he was saying, well, you know, and I'm paraphrasing, this isn't an exact quote, but he said, those 39 saplings, it's going to be hard on them. They're kind of established. It would really be better if I plant smaller trees. And so he's paving the way for you guys to start questioning whether you really need to enforce the tree preservation and mitigation ordinance also. He's pretty skilled at this. And I kind of question, like, did he ever intend to build 15 units? Or is it like he's trying to sell you his used car and he says, I'll sell it to you for $15,000 and you talk him down to 8 and you feel like you got a good deal. So he's building currency with you for future projects. We don't have that luxury to build currency with you. So I would ask you to do your best practices. Again, if you were my surgeon, I want you doing your best practice. You're my pilot. I want you doing your best practice. And I want that from my elected leaders too. So I would ask you to give serious thought to this request. This is not your best practice. Thank you.
Hello, John McManus, 333 58th Street. I've emailed all you guys, and Chris, thank you for responding to me today. Josh as well, earlier on. I share similar sentiments that we just heard, and the thing that I'm really struggling with and confused about with you guys working with a developer the way you have is I don't understand why he is more important than the neighborhood. The neighborhood does not want this. He put his worst foot forward to start out. A terrible plan. And I understand that it looks better now than it did. But it doesn't look better to us. And something I really wish you guys would think about is the Oaks on Fleur project. Same thing happened. Zoning turned that down. You guys greenlit it. He hasn't broke ground. Nothing's happened. He can't get his plans right. This is not something we need in our neighborhood. This is not something we want. All we need is 2 no's, and this is over, and we can stop fighting you. Please, I beg. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Mayor, Councilman, my name is Mark Tim. I've lived at 340 56th Street for almost 31 years. The west side of my property directs to Butley with 5702 Grand. I'm opposing this issue, and I agree with the previous speakers. One thing that particularly bothers me is this was a completely new plan. So I would like for you to tell me where I can find a reference to what represents an appeal. Is there a definition? Because this isn't an appeal to me. It's a completely new plan. It bears no resemblance to the plan the plan that was originally presented. And I agree that I don't think the 15 units was even a viable plan. The new one is more lucrative to the developer than the existing one. It's more lucrative to the developer and more detrimental in terms of taxes on the surrounding neighborhood. So it almost appears to be a ruse. And you're allowing a commercial island to a LLC that doesn't live here, has no ability to make an assessment on what is missing middle. I don't even think that term applies here. So you're really granting him a windfall at the expense of the neighborhood. And I wonder, I would also like for you to present your analysis of the taxes, the property taxes on the surrounding neighborhood and the impact it will have on those over the course of the next 9 years. Surely you have one, or this would be fiscally irresponsible, right? I mean, it would be without merit had you not done an analysis. So I'm asking for those 2 things. I'm also going to make an observation, and I apologize. I don't mean to insult anyone. The owner of LLC, Faithful Moments LLC, is an attorney in Ames. His primary business is H-1A visas, the importation of labor. One of the major tenets of a tax abatement is to support local labor. The developer has been sued for not paying wages. That's just an observation, and it's ancillary to this deal, but it's part of the consideration, and it makes this whole process seem less transparent to the citizens. None of this is transparent to the citizens. Last week, a plan was presented that never existed. We have no recourse. I guess I would like you to explain our recourse to a plan that never existed until last council meeting. And so it's a summary. I appreciate all your work. I really do. I think you've done wonderful work. This isn't right, and I think it should be rejected. Boiled and reduced, sometimes you guys face issues with tons of ancillary issues you have to deal with. This one has none, in my opinion. So boiled and reduced, when you get right down to it, is this right or wrong? Is it right for the constituents? Is it unanimous opposition? aside from you, but you're the only one that got money from Adams. Right? So I hate to be this way. I don't take any pleasure in being here. If you don't like it, that's just the way it is. You don't want people to say the truth. I am. So those are my feelings. I don't mean to insult anybody, but these are our livelihoods. So, you know, it's responsible to be frank. You have a comment? Well, you're just looking at me.
I'm listening to you.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I truly do. Thank you.
Thank you. Have we had everybody of parties of interest within 250 feet? So you'll have up to 2 minutes now for everyone else.
Mayor and members of the council, Bill Ludwig, architect, urban planner, 303 52nd Street in Des Moines. I just want to reiterate a number of the issues that came up before Planning Commission and before the council earlier. You've got two neighborhoods, Westwood and Waterbury, all very much single-family developments and established in Des Moines for many, many, many years. And I've never seen a case where you've come into, and it's been in the planning business for over 50 years, come in and picked a single-family lot in a single-family neighborhood and said, let's put high density, I'll say, townhomes on that. There's a multi-million-dollar house right across the street that's going in now and probably finished up within the next 6 to 8 weeks. When we do something out in the suburbs or really even in parts of Des Moines, we always have a clustering of apartments, townhomes, single-family homes, but never mixing the two of them. Here you've come right, like I say, on a single-family lot and put this townhome development. The plan itself, if this were in the suburbs, you'd have twice as much parking as is shown on the plan itself. On the other hand, on the western side of it, you've got about a 10-foot wall of earth or retaining wall or something, then 2.5 stories right next to a single-family house that's just right next to it. And those are things that are part of the plan that really ought to be looked at, I think. So that's my comments.
Thank you. Next person. If you want to state your name and address or ward.
Amanda Duncan, 5408 Robertson Drive. I didn't have high hopes of our voices being heard at the start of this process, and it's turned out to be even worse than I thought. It's obvious from the moment that Mr. Siren brought this project to the city that you guys have been determined to push it through despite any and all objections. It started with a cry for missing middle housing, which this is not, yet you dismiss it and move on. You say it's on a major corridor. The lot may be on Grand, but it's in the middle of a neighborhood. It directly abuts 8 different properties, but it's essentially in the backyard of 3 entire blocks. 3 blocks of families that will see their quality of life and property values decline. No voice, no compensation, just dismissal. Chris Draper at the Zoning Commission told us that we should have put our money where our mouths are and done something with the property ourselves, which is impossible because it never went on the market. When the owner of the house, which needed repair, called in contractors to get it fixed, Mr. Siren bought it instead. And then there it sits how it is, and you call it a dilapidated property, which I feel is a pretty backhanded way to redefine it to suit your purposes. And speaking of the Zoning Commission, they voted against this. And again, you dismiss. There's not a single person living in our neighborhood that's voiced support for this project. We love this neighborhood and have nurtured it despite dealing with the costs and the hassle of maintaining older homes, despite paying higher property taxes and having worse schools and city services than our neighbors to the west. We live here because of the mature trees, that it's single family, that it's a community. We bought our homes here based on the promise of what it is for the way that it is zoned. And if you do this, you're taking that away. You spend time and taxpayer dollars on plans and studies about saving trees, maintaining neighborhoods, having deals with neighborhood associations, listening to your constituents, and you dismiss them all. This is not a neighborhood that's in need of revitalization, and in your goal of building as many housing units wherever you can, I think you're being short-sighted because you're destroying the reason that we want to live here in the first place.
My name is Holly Krager. I live at 9 Southwest 56th Street. Just from the beginning, when I realized the topography where this land is, I thought this is not the place for this townhome development. You know, we walked it. The house is up on a hill, and then at the last meeting, I heard that I don't know if it's exactly true that he's going to add 12 feet of fill. How is that going to work, and how is that going to look when you're on the bottom side of this property? It hasn't really been explained to us. I haven't, I've seen the drawings, but if you notice from the drawings, the tops of the trees are down below this property, so it's going to be up higher, and I'm worried about water, erosion, not to mention all the other issues that this project has. I was just at Gray's Lake walking around with a friend, and we looked over on the street, Thomas Beck Road, and those very elevated townhomes have not been selling. I'm concerned that this is not going to sell. It's a high-end townhome, and $600,000+ in our neighborhood, that will raise our taxes, but it may be that they don't sell. Thank you.
Sorry. My name is Lori Wolf. I live at 116 56th Street. I wish to address 2 points that were brought up by Councilman Josh Mandelbaum at the last meeting. The first one is Josh indicated that his decision was partially based on consideration of a former neighborhood homeowner. He stated that there was a need for this project because this person had to move because he could not purchase a larger home in the area. I find this point invalid as there have always been homes for sale in our area. In fact, I passed 2 that are up for sale this evening on my way here. I also find it interesting that Josh gave more credence to the voice of one person who no longer lives in the neighborhood than of the 655 Des Moines residents who signed a petition asking the council to vote no. And this petition was presented last time. This map shows where those 655 Des Moines residents live in the neighborhoods of Westwood, Waterbury, and Greenwood neighborhoods. The blue is where the proposed the house, the project is going to go up. The rest is where people are saying, we are opposed to this. I guess the voice of one person holds more weight than the voice of 655. Many who are educators, doctors, lawyers, investment advisors, business owners, community leaders, volunteers who care about Des Moines. The second issue that was presented was the height of the proposed project. It was stated that there were recent projects in the area that were higher overlooking single-family homes, so that the height of this project should not be a concern. Well, 3 recent projects that he was probably referencing are located 16 blocks to the east on Ingersoll and Grand.
Thank you.
Areas that are multi-purpose.
Hi, my name's Amy McCrell. From 224 56th Street. This is just my final plea for you to reconsider this. This project just doesn't fit the plan of our neighborhood. And I do want to respond to Councilman Mandelbaum's statement that he was talking about, because this is spot zoning. It is spot zoning, and he said it wouldn't set a precedent. But my response is that I don't believe that to be true. There's no evidence that this precedent won't be used if my elderly neighbor next door to me decides to sell her acre because it's across from Hannawalt. Someone decides it's a great place to build an apartment building. After all, here we are. When the Planning and Zoning Committee had already ruled upon this, they agreed with us that this area wasn't the place for this build. Not that it wasn't, not that it was too big, or not that they didn't like the design. It was that 5702 Grand was not the place for these townhomes. In addition, we've shown that this build goes against the town's own planned DSM. The developer already has unfinished projects, which were a concern to some of you when the Fluor project was brought to council. How can I have faith in my leaders when they deviate from plans that we have in place? How can I trust that this won't be a precedent when at this point the existing plans are being ignored? The one place that people still hope to be heard is in local government, and our arguments have been sound regarding how this plan is bad for the environment, bad for our neighborhood's culture, and bad for traffic safety. The arguments made by the council for why this should move forward have left me wondering why this project, why this development, what is this particular project, and why is it so important when it clearly isn't suited for the land itself and it goes completely against Plan DSM. We have 653 signatures of people who oppose this build, including former Mayor County, who was on the Plan DSM committee. I really hope you hear us. 653 is a lot of people, and 758 votes can change an election.
Hi, my name is Melanie McQueen. I'm at 211 58th Street. And even though I am not within 250 feet of this property, I also know that because my street is adjacent to this property, I will be affected by the parking. 58th Street is a very narrow street, and it's hard enough for the actual residents to find parking there. And so that was a concern that Waterbury brought up when it came to the Willow and Grand project, but it was approved anyway. It was last summer, I went to an event there. It is a lovely building. It is a lovely venue. However, it was a rainy day, and I got there a little late, and I couldn't find parking in the lot. I actually had to park several blocks away in front of a neighborhood home. And I thought, oh my goodness, this is what they were talking about. So we were reassured that there would be sufficient parking for the residents there, and my neighbors had brought up, what if they bring guests? Well, so my mind went back to that. And additionally, I have to agree with my neighbors. I was here at the last meeting, and it just seemed like what we were saying, what was my neighbors had spoken so eloquently, including a real estate agent, an architect, and a developer, shown that this is a wrong project for this for our neighborhood. In addition to the fact that the Planning and Zoning Commission agreed. So I am very puzzled that our councilman referenced someone who used to live in the neighborhood who no longer has a stake here. And Councilman Voss, I appreciate the fact that you lived in our neighborhood at one time. I can understand why there's a love there. I love it too.
Thank you. Go ahead if you want to come up. Since you're okay.
I don't mean to take any more of your time, but I had a few accusations I'd like to clear up.
You want to state who you are?
I'm Adam Searon, the developer of the project. I live at 3315 Waco Court. Just a couple things about me putting a plan forward that I had no intention on building. The plan of 15 units on an acre is a medium density, and there's projects all over this city that are a high density designation. So 15 units on this site I think is appropriate. And I have reduced down to 8 units listening to the neighborhood, but I still believe 15 units would fit appropriately on this 1 acre site. Talking about my Fluor project, this is not an unfinished project. The project has not started, so it's not a project that's left unfinished. There's currently 61 townhouse units on the southwest side that are listed for sale, and I have ground that I don't need to develop. So I'm planning on grading the area and seeding it and making it look like a park for the city of Des Moines to drive by. And when the time is appropriate, I will develop that site. All the design has been approved, and the changes have not been made, and it's ready to be built. I've got storm sewer on site, and I'm actually working with Mid-American to get the transformers installed as we go. So that site has nothing to do with being stalled or delayed. It just has to do with the current market conditions on the southwest side. As far as being sued for not paying wages, I've never been party to a lawsuit for not paying wages, and I'm currently not a party to a lawsuit of not paying wages. And the dirt exportation and fill, the engineer, we're actually not exporting any dirt on this site. The hillside is able to roll to the front, and we're able to about be equal with dirt on this particular site. One more comment on the Plan DSM that I was going to say last week. You know, if Plan DSM, and I'll pick on Mr. Simonson, if the Plan DSM was abided by, then we would not have the beautiful project on Grand Avenue, because that had to be amended to get those 7 beautiful townhomes that now sit on Grand Avenue. So that's all that I had for you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll open that up for discussion. Mr. Voss, did you want to?
No.
Was anyone else? There was no one else, right? Okay.
Hearing no other comments, I'll move 44A and 44B.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
May I make a few comments? This was not an easy decision for me, and the last time we met, I had no idea what the vote might look like. I was frankly surprised that it was a unanimous vote in support of rezoning. I sat on planning and zoning for 12 years. I got my feet wet in this business when I was 24 years old by working with Bill Ludwig. Bill was my boss, and I learned a lot from Bill. I have a lot of respect for him. I think a few things that drove me to support this project are, number one, the support of Josh Mandelbaum. I'm an at-large member. This is Josh's ward. He supported it. I put a lot of weight on the city council person whose ward a project is in. Secondly, I see this project as being on the edge of the neighborhood. We have advocated as a city for several years to develop on high density, I should say high traffic corridors. Grand Avenue is a high traffic corridor. It's 2 blocks down into the floodplain area and where we have commercial buildings. I was not in favor of this project when it was 15 units. I can't help it. I'm an architect, so I got out my pen, and you can pull up the topography online. It's free. It's available to the public. I did a little doodling. Yeah, I couldn't see how 15 units on a property of that topography could fit. I believe 8 units can. And I would say what we're voting on is the rezoning of this property, not a site plan. This applicant still has to go before the city and demonstrate in site plan format that it meets all the requirements in terms of grading, stormwater management, trees, etc. So this developer still has work to do, but I believe it's important, and I'm supporting the rezoning.
Any other comments? I just wanted to say, too, I know many of the people in this neighborhood. I did not support this project, just as Mr. Simonson, until it went down to 8, and the structure and the look of it, too, fits more to the character than some of the original plans. And so with that, I would just say, Mr. Coleman, would you like?
I would just add, I don't think I disagree with anything that's been said so far, but I would say that for those of you that clearly feel like you've been ignored, I would like you to believe, because it's the way I see it, that you've affected this process dramatically. I know you don't want a project to be built, but your feedback, the input from planning and zoning, all had effect on the kind of project that we might support there. And, you know, the city does need to do projects, but only if they're high quality. And I trust my colleagues on the council that if we didn't really believe it was a project that we would want to live next to, that we didn't know that it was going to be an asset for the city and the neighborhood, we wouldn't support it. I know we disagree with it. I'm not trying to talk you into agreeing with me, but I do want you to know, and I wanted to respond, because our motives are not because, you know, somebody made a campaign contribution or we made promises months ago. There's been a lot of heartache over this, and you've gotten our attention, and I think we've made it into a project that is much better than where it was when he first presented it, when he went to planning and zoning. And I think if we had the same recommendation and the same project at planning and zoning, it would not get passed here. The fact is, we slowed it down. We've challenged him. We've asked him to compromise, and we have a better project now. And I suspect if this was in front of planning and zoning, it might have gone differently there, because I think his commitment, and again, as Councilmember Simonson says, this is one step in the process, but when we start to work on the finer details of the way the project looks, how it addresses the street, what people sense there, I want it to look as any of the best houses in the neighborhood. I don't want it to be a flat, neutered development, and I think what he's presented makes me feel that this can be an asset to the neighborhood. I say that because you've been straight with us, and I want to be straight with you back. I know we disagree on it, but I do feel like your time has been worth it, and I've watched the council struggle with this as I have, and I think we're to the point where we feel like we have a pretty good project. The last thing I'd say is we're spending a lot of time thinking about transit, and one of the things that sets Grand opposed to others in terms of additional density where we can is this is a transit route, and it is something that we're conscious of.
It only runs certain times during the day.
It does.
As of right now.
Yeah.
In the morning, and it runs in the evening, no time in between. So that is not relevant.
Spend $600,000 on a townhouse is not taking the bus.
Okay, with that, I think we'll go ahead. There's been a motion and a second. Do you have any more?
Mayor?
Councilman Mandelbaum?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
excuse us.
if I may,
Excuse us.
I can't.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I don't need to repeat everything that others have said. I would like to just address the process, and one of the challenging things about issues like this that are contentious, and I've tried to listen to the neighbors, to the concerns that they've raised, and for every concern, I've tried to go back and research the issue. I asked the traffic engineer about traffic volumes on Grand and the impact of this project. I asked Public Works about how we would manage stormwater. I asked our development services about the historic preservation pieces of this. And throughout this process, as Council Members Coleman and Simonson have talked about, this project has changed, and I do think that is because of the neighborhood input and the neighborhood pushback, and I think we have a better project today because of that feedback. And I recognize that, and as I've tried to explain how I view these pieces, that it's not necessarily going to convince folks, and there are going to be people who disagree. But I think all of us are trying to create the best community that we can. And I do believe we've gotten to a point where we have a project that will enhance the corridor, and it will enhance our community. And I'm committed to continuing to work with the neighborhood going forward, that we continue to value that and maintain the things that we love about Westwood and about Waterbury. And I think that can be done in conjunction with this project. And I'm committed to doing that over the long run. And my hope is that with projects like this, sometimes we get them done, and we get a high quality project out of it, and that can be the thing that can convince folks after we see a high quality project and maybe some of the fears and concerns don't materialize. And I think that's the type of work that we've done on this project to get there. And I'm hopeful that the future will bear this out and we can continue working together in good faith.
Okay, with that,
I didn't use my 5 minutes, and I'd like to make a comment.
no, that's too late, sir, at this
The
point.
hearing's closed.
And the hearing is closed. We've got the motion, and at this time, I would say we'll take, please vote.
Mandelbaum votes yes.
7 yes.
Motion carries. Next item is 45 on 2025 traffic signal replacement contract 1, resolution approving plans, specifications, form of contract documents, engineer's estimate, receive and file bids, and designating the lowest responsible bidder as Van Manen Electric, Inc., Nathan Van Manen, President, $719,946.70. Council Communication Number 25-055. A is the approval of contract and bond. General public may comment only to the plans, specifications, form of documents, engineer's estimate, or low bidder designation, and those will be the only comments to be considered germane. 2 minutes per person to speak, 10 minutes maximum. Anyone wishing to speak to this?
I see none, Your Honor. I'll move 45 and 45A.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Please vote.
Mandelbaum votes yes.
Mr. Coleman? Councilman Coleman?
Jeez. Thought I
7 yes.
Motion
Why am I the
carries.
only one?
Number 46, on Southeast Connector from Southeast 30th Street to US 65. Resolution approving plans, specifications, form of contract documents, engineer's estimate, receive and file bids, and designating the lowest responsible bidder as C.J. Monia and Sons, LLC, John P. Monia, President, and Progressive Structures, LLC, Travis Augustine, President, a joint venture of $58,099,314.12. Council Communication, how do you get 12 cents?
Moina.
Moynihan?
Yeah.
Thank you. Council Communication Number 25-53, A is approval of contract and bond. This is a very long-awaited project.
Very long awaited.
Anyone
I don't
wishing
see
to
any
speak to
comments. You know what? I'm so happy that we can move forward on this and open up some opportunities for Eastern Polk County that it did come in under the engineering estimate, which is kind of amazing, but I'm happy to get this thing moving forward. I will move 46 and 46A.
It's been moved and seconded.
There was one other that I think needs to be thanked that kind of worked a lot through this, would be Pam Cooksey, and I know that she's retired from the city, but she even did a lot of the other stuff through that. So hopefully maybe she's watching. I doubt it though. But I'd just like to say thanks.
How long has this been in the go?
Oh, it's
12 or 20 years?
I remember cutting the ribbon on the bridge from Kemen
11
that
years ago.
we did
Okay.
like 8 or 9 years ago, and we were still working on that. So,
Right.
Okay,
Okay, so you moved?
I did.
And it's been
I moved
seconded?
it. I think it's seconded.
And please vote.
The, just
Mandelbaum votes yes.
federal funds, MPO, lots of different levels of government have helped fund this.
It's been a process.
7 yes.
Motion
I'm not sure where
carries.
the 12 cents comes from, but it could be Bill Gray and have a little
Where is Bill?
jar
Steve
right
Neighbor.
there.
47 on Southwest 9th Street Viaduct Rehabilitation Resolution approving plan specifications, form of contract documents, engineer's estimate, receive and file bids, and designating the lowest responsible bidder as Jasper Construction Services, Inc., Cliff Roads President, $2,065,841.95. Council Communication Number 25-054. A is approval of contract and bond. Same specifications on time frame. Anyone wishing to speak to this? If not,
I see none. I know this is Josh Ward, but
I can.
he can move it. Go ahead, Josh.
So, yeah, well, we share it. but I'm happy to move 47 and 47A.
Second.
Southwest 9th important to both of us.
Please vote. It's been moved and seconded.
Mandelbaum votes yes.
7 yes.
Motion carries. That's the end of the hearings, and it's 5:55. The next item is number 24. It's a preliminary award of $1 million of Home Investment Partnership Program as authorized under the American Rescue Plan to Starts Right Here for the construction of stay at 525 East 9th Street. Council Communication number 25-051.
Thank you, Mayor. So there's a person in the audience, Will Keeps. Would you like to stand, Will? Will has a huge smile this evening. Thank you, Will, for dreaming big. And I think your dream is just about to come together. I understand you may have a good day tomorrow with more good news about the incredible stack of support through various grants and agencies to get this project in the former Elam Church on 9th Street. So I just want to say thanks to you for bringing this idea forward. Let's get going on it, and I will be happy to move this.
I will second it. Thank you for everything you've done. We sure
So
appreciate
would-
it for our community.
And if I could just say a couple of things as well. I mean, I want to thank Will and the Hatch Kiernan team. This is a great project. It fits a crucial need. Will, you've always demonstrated a servant's heart and your passion for serving kids and providing them with an opportunity in our community is commendable, and that's exactly what this project will do. It will provide some kids in our community who haven't had a lot of opportunity with opportunity, and that's a great thing. So happy to support this project, and thank you all for the work you're doing to make it a reality.
Any other comments?
Agree.
If not, it's been moved and seconded, and thank you for helping youth in this city. Please vote.
Mandelbaum votes yes.
6 yes, 1 abstain.
Motion carries. Next item is 48. It's a review of Zoning Board of Adjustment decision to conditionally granting a use variance for an office, business, or professional use within an F flood district on property at 414 61st Street. Choose one alternative below. Council Communication number 25-058. A is the City Council demands a decision and order to the Zoning Board of Adjustment for further study. The effective date of the board's decision will be deferred for 30 days from the date of this remand. Or B, the City Council takes no action to review the decision and order. The decision of the board will become final on February 27th, 2025. Or C, the City Council declines to remand the decision to the Zoning Board of Adjustment. The decision of the board becomes final on this date.
I'll move item 48C.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Please vote.
Can I ask a question before I vote?
Mandelbaum votes yes.
The building is in a location where there's other buildings around. If those other buildings became vacant, would they not be able to?
Probably would go through the same process. Cody Christensen can answer that question.
Mayor and Council, I'm Cody Christensen, Development Services Director. Councilmember Coleman, to answer your question, any buildings that are located in the flood district, which there are a number of those located in the flood district in this area, well, when they become vacant, in order to be reoccupied, they need to get a use variance after they go vacant for more than 6 months. So that's what we're seeing here with this one. Is it goes through. This one went through more of a process. Actually, council recently amended the code to make this an easier task to get through. Requires less process. So moving forward in the future, if other buildings go vacant for that time frame, in order for them to be reoccupied, they would go before the Zoning Board of Adjustment and request a use variance. The intent behind that is to have a bit of a catch mechanism for continued use in the floodplain. There are some negative impacts that come from having uses and structures in the floodplain in Des Moines. It impacts everyone's flood insurance rates. So the city has taken a number of steps to boost up our floodplain regulations. And by having this process where the Zoning Board of Adjustment is able to review those use variances, that helps maintain our floodplain rating.
On the Des Moines side of the creek, how far east does the floodplain go?
It just goes a little bit beyond this property.
Probably across the street.
What about on the other side of Grand?
On the south side of Grand?
Yes.
It extends it follows the creek down through the creek bottom.
Like, does it take in the new restaurant there? Does it take in
Junior
the
Achievement?
Junior Achievement building?
I'd have to take a look at the map to tell you for sure.
Is there reasons about different buildings that staff would change its recommendation to deny? Or will you deny all of them?
No, we would review those. In fact, oftentimes we recommend approval of the use variance. What we've had done in situations like this is previously the code required a property to come through and request rezoning, and then have that rezoning denied to be eligible to go to the Board of Adjustment for the use variance. And that's the piece of the code that has been recently changed. So now these properties, rather than going through the rezoning request, they can go straight to the Zoning Board of Adjustment. It's a way that it decreases process, and it still provides that opportunity for buildings to be reused without the city taking on the additional risk of rezoning something that's located in the floodplain that would allow a number of other uses by right. It's this approach, staff's opinion is that this is the happy medium that still provides the city some level of protection for uses in the floodplain without an arduous process.
Okay.
Any other questions for anyone? If not, I think we've all voted now.
7 yes.
Thank you, Cody. Motion carries. Item 49 is amending section 114-485.12 of the municipal code relating to the city's impound and preservation fee. A is final consideration of ordinance above. Waiver requested by Police Chief Michael McTaggart, requires 6 votes. B is amending the schedule of the fees by repealing the impound and preservation fee for vehicles impounded by the city.
I see no one, Your Honor. I'll move 49 A and B. I know this saves the city hundreds of thousands of dollars per year, so this is a very good thing.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Please vote.
Oh, could I just make one comment? And I do plan on supporting this. But while we're looking at impoundment and our towing ordinance, I've always thought that we should look at if there are things that we can do to change our towing ordinance and or contract to allow if it's the city that is towing someone's car and someone runs out of a restaurant or wherever they are or is walking back to their car and notices it, I'd like for us to give an option to pay a fee and a lesser amount than the impoundment and everything that happens with that, maybe $15 to compensate for time or whatever it would be, so that they could get their vehicle back at that moment and not have to go through the whole impoundment process and drive halfway across town. I don't need to do that as part of this, but I do think it would be an appropriate thing for us to do and would love to see us make that change. And while we're talking about this would be this would certainly be the appropriate time to revisit an issue like that.
I think I will have the city manager look into that and at the contract and see if there's modifications that could be possibly made in the future, because I don't know when the contract. So I don't think that would be a problem at all. Okay, it's been moved and seconded, and I think everyone's voted. Josh,
Mandelbaum votes yes, if I hadn't.
7 yes.
Motion carries.
Mayor, may I, since the issue of towing came up, have a few items?
Certainly.
Whoever we have doing the towing for the city needs to accept cash, credit card, or debit card, and if it's cash, it has to be with exact change. The towing service has to be open 7 days a week to allow people to access their vehicle. These are just some of the things I've heard from people that who have frustrations.
I did check that they do accept credit card.
Okay.
And they have an ATM, but they do have a credit card ability, is what I was told. So I did check on that, but we can we'll verify everything.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. With that, item number 50 is our public speaking time, and we provide speakers under the public speaking portion the opportunity to address a council for up to 3 minutes each, for up to 20 speakers for a total of 1 hour on our agenda. Speakers will be called forward individually, and we ask everyone to please state their name and address or ward prior to providing comments. As a reminder to the council and public, this public speaking time is not a time for the council to engage in discussion. Matters requiring attention will receive appropriate staff and or council follow-up at a time after the meeting. At this time, the first person is Nicholas King.
Good evening. Sorry, this is my first time here.
That's okay.
So I just kind of wrote something out.
Yeah, do you want to state your address or ward? Either one.
Nicholas King, 922 East 22nd Court.
Okay.
Good evening, City Council members. My name is Nicholas King, and I'm a homeowner residing at 922 East 22nd Court. I'm here today to express my strong opposition to Dairy Zone drive-through that is directly in front of my driveway, and it has so many negative impacts, such as congestive traffic, which has caused numerous accidents going into East University. The quality of life is also impacted as well for the neighborhood and the children that are at play in the neighborhood. It's basically the Iowa State Fair all year long in front of my home. The line wraps all the way in every which way of University. Semis pull up in front of the home and the street and block it off. It's almost impossible to get through the street when you're coming home from work. I asked the City Council to investigate this matter. I have known the owners my whole life, but something has to give with their business taking up the whole street and their line going into all sides of traffic on the busiest street in Des Moines. There's no privacy for any of the homeowners on the street. I thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak before you this evening.
Okay, thank you. We can look into that.
Thank you.
Jenny King?
I'm Jenny King, 922 East 22nd Court, Des Moines, Iowa, 50317. So I just kind of want to piggyback off what Nicholas is trying to express. He was super nervous, so he's talking really fast.
He did a very good job of explaining.
A lot of the concerns are, our whole entire block is full of children. And so you have traffic trying to turn onto our block, westbound and then eastbound, and then you'll have it also coming up the block into the business where you can't, if an emergency vehicle needs to get down our street and somebody's life depends on that 30 seconds, there's a possibility that person is not going to get the chance they deserve because there's so much traffic blocking in both directions. I do not let my children play outside because I myself have witnessed a gentleman on a motorcycle, when somebody stopped to turn into this drive-through traffic, literally get hit by another vehicle, slide across the whole entire street on its face. It's very dangerous. We're not asking for you guys to come in and say, hey, this business needs to go. All we're asking is for an alternative plan to where we can all be happy. She still gets her business, but I feel safe letting my kids play outside because I don't have to worry about some person driving down my street trying to get through. There's been times I've had semis blocking my driveway. I can't get in and out. What if there's an emergency in my home? I can't do nothing because I am stuck. And all we're asking is for a little bit of compassion to see if maybe we can all come up with a plan to where everybody's safe, everybody still gets their ice cream, and everybody's happy at the end of the day. That's all we really.
Thank you.
Mayor, can I just ask a question? Is the semi delivering product to them?
Yes, yes.
And what time do they do that?
All different, it's different times all the time. You have multiple semis. We've asked them to ask their semi drivers, please don't block my driveway.
Sure.
And I have witnessed my neighbors actually get out of their vehicles screaming and yelling at these semi drivers because it is very dangerous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next person is Kelly Midgordon. Is Kelly here? If not, Lori Wolf. Is Lori? She's gone. Carla Damkin. Andy Roberts.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you. Bear with me here.
And your address?
2501 Bell Avenue, Ward 3, but I have members that live, I am Andy Roberts, the business manager with the Plumbers and Steamfitters Local 33, and I have members that live across the entire jurisdiction of Des Moines. I am a proud plumber of Local 33. I've been a licensed plumber in this city for 37 years. I had the license back when it was a block test, and I've had my license when it became a statewide test for the city or for the state of Iowa. So I'm proud to sit up here to more or less tell you that your shit is my bread and butter. So, with that being said, sewage plant. I just wanted to read this to you. I want you guys all to understand where I'm coming from here, and this is just the start into my story. When the question of awarding a sewage plant contract was raised, W. Morrow, business agent for the Plumbers Union, presented an affidavit opposing granting the contract for Alexander Repass Company, the low bidder. In his affidavit, Morrow stated that Alexander Repass firm had not complied with state laws and city ordinances regarding obtaining license and posting bond, and thus should be disqualified for this project. The difference in the bids were very small, of course, and Morrow stated that the public would be the best serving by granting a bid to Llewellyn Mechanical, who also bid the product. McVicker, however, said that all the council could do was award the contract to the low bidder and move that this be done. This article was from September 17th, 1934, in the Des Moines Tribune. 1934. We have over 90 years. So this council has not done anything when it comes to development agreements to put some teeth in it. I see up here tonight when we talk about the millions of dollars that the city is spending on public projects, it says lowest responsive, responsible. When are you going to start defining responsible? What's a responsible contractor in this city? Responsible contractor in the city is somebody that has licensure, uses their licensure, hires people that has the correct licensure. It's time for this city council to start using their fiducial responsibility when it comes to taxpayers' dollars to put some teeth in development agreements to make sure that the people on these projects are going to be licensed professionals, they're going to have some sort of training, and they're going to put some money back into training. I sit up here as a proud union member working with the city kids, the kids around the cities from the Forest Avenue Outreach to the Scholars Dollars. These are all kids trying to make their ways into the trades, but they're going to need jobs. And it's time for you guys to start sitting down and start figuring out what responsible is. Because that's a big word. And I guarantee if I asked any one of you right now, define responsible, I don't think any one of you is going to tell me what you have in your language that defines responsible.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alicia Hilton.
Good evening, council members. Felicia Hilton. I live in Ward 2, lived there since 2016. I am the political director for the North Central States Regional Council of Carpenters, here for the same reason that Brother Andy just spoke about when it comes to responsible development. You know, we sat here, I thought that you guys were going to give Will Keeps a big round of applause for receiving $1 million from you guys to go and help disadvantaged youth and kids that are struggling in community in his new project. But I just want to say the building trades have been doing that for quite some time. We have a number of youth that we have been taking in and training up to be the next tradespeople. But what we need is for them to not get into a competition where we can't build in our own city. So we're going to North, we're going to all these schools, but yet when it comes to development, we want to be able to see if we can get language in the development agreement that would be fair to young people coming into the trades to be able to work on projects in their own city, in their own backyard. But it's difficult when the lowest responsible bidder is not responsible. And they're hiring people that they can exploit, that they can pay cash, pay off the books, keep them off work comp, and keep them from receiving unemployment benefits. That is not the goal here. We think that the more responsible thing would be to put a language in the development agreement that would allow for these very young people that are coming in, that we're training up in the trades, that we don't get $1 million from the city to do, but we're doing it. And we're at all the schools, in all the wards, trying to recruit kids that are the same kids that Will Keep is trying to save. We're doing that too. The problem is, no matter what Will Keeps does with his kids or what we do with ours, if they can't work in their own backyard, if they can't build the projects that you guys are developing, because the language allows for this type of cheating and what we call construction industry tax fraud, what we call wage theft. If your projects allow that, it keeps these young people off these projects. And our kids should be able to build the projects in their own backyard, in their neighborhoods. They should be able to build projects that you guys are financing. And, you know, we want our flowers as the building trades. We absolutely do. And our flowers are these young people coming into us, and we want that. We don't need it from you guys. We just are asking you guys to adjust policy that would recognize that in its construction, that developers follow the standards, labor standards, the area standards, the licensure standards.
Thank you.
That's it. That's all we're asking for.
Giada Morrison.
Giada Morrison, I live in Ward 1. Love what these two were just saying. I'll add that I hate to see any level of government contract with Iowa prison industries. That is extremely irresponsible to be using incarcerated slave labor that undercuts almost every other business that's out there. Really disappointing. Okay, but I'm here to talk about the press release that came out last week titled City Manager Shares Progress on Council Priorities to Address Unsheltered Homelessness. First of all, I'll say that I've seen Councilmember Coleman talking about a 13-point plan. This press release only addresses 10 points. So I reached out to Chris on January 15th, asked for this 13-point plan, followed up multiple times, did not receive a reply until during this meeting, during item number 44. So if you think that you're being listened to and you're talking in a public hearing, probably not, because they're all working and sending emails from their personal emails, which is disappointing. So that 13-point plan is a little bit different. The numbers are out of order. That makes it hard to understand what's going on with what step, but I'll go through this press release and talk about my issues with it. So first of all, it says that primary health care began expanded outreach last week. This press release has been shared with the understanding that enforcement of the new ordinances against homelessness has begun. Primary health care just expanded their outreach last week. Do you understand why those are in conflict with one another? They're supposed to have 2 teams of 2 people going out. They have 1 team of 2 people going out. The other one won't be going out to do outreach until mid-March. Should not be beginning enforcement. Shouldn't be enforcing the new ordinances at all. The press release also says, since September, work has been completed on the initiative to the satisfaction of the city manager. Let's talk about the work and see if anyone is satisfied with it. Point number 1, reduce barriers. Only talks about talking with city staff and local providers, doesn't say anything about asking homeless people what their barriers are to seeking shelter in the city. I've brought forth those barriers and told you about them several times. I encourage you, yourselves, or to send city staff to go speak to unhoused individuals in the city and ask them what their barriers to seeking shelter are. Don't just ask the service providers. That's not going to give you the real answer. The agreement with the ARL to store pets, limited to 8 days of storing an animal. The current list for housing for individuals is over 700 people. I don't think they're going through that 700 people in 8 days. That's pitiful. Item number 3, storage. Recently came upon an encampment notice. If the city's giving notice that they want to evict a camp, can someone turn on the camera for me to show something on this? They give you a couple of these stickers, which you probably can't even see, but I'll show you here. It's lime green. They give you a couple of these stickers, and they say, go ahead and stick this to your stuff, and we'll store it for you. The city workers make the decision on if it's deemed cleanly enough. Otherwise, they'll just throw it away. You're also limited, I don't know what they give, 2, 3 stickers to people who have their whole lives out there.
Abby Banks.
I'll come back with the 7 next time.
Abby Banks, she, her, Ward 3. Despite massive conversations about the way our unhoused neighbors are treated in Des Moines, the fiscal year 2025 to 2026 proposed budget includes cuts to the library, such as the elimination of 2 library positions and possibly most disturbingly, the social worker position. The library is one of the most absolutely vital resources to folks experiencing housing instability. It's one of the only, if not the only, low to no barrier place where people can seek refuge from extreme weather, use the bathroom, have access to a computer, and be connected with resources to help them. Something you all clearly have no interest in maintaining. You're sharing 10 or 13-point plans to aid unhoused folks who live outside that seem fine, like bathrooms, storage for belongings and animals, outreach workers. They have huge holes, but also removing resources that already exist while you're already enforcing the goddamn ordinances. There are currently 72 library personnel employed, only 47 of whom are full-time employees. You've proposed the elimination of 3 jobs, which amounts to over a 4% cut in staffing. Also, the library takes only 4% of the entire city budget. At the same time, the police department, who take up an incredible 35% of the budget, are facing a meager 0.05% cut. For context, there are a total of 481 jobs within the police department. The 2025 to 2026 budget proposes no changes in staffing quantities within DMPD. You're making more cuts to a vital community resource that vastly improves the lives of those who call Des Moines home, homeless or not, in the interest of a department that's main objective has been proven to be criminalizing, brutalizing, and causing immeasurable harm in our communities. I was at the library this weekend, and in one freezing cold afternoon, there was a model train program, an exhibit put on by junior librarians, folks using computers, folks warming up, and I picked up my own painting from the miniature art show from a few weeks back. You know what I didn't see? Cops doing anything productive other than giving parking tickets. We are lucky to have the library. We are unlucky to have you as your representatives.
Your Honor, I'll move 50 A through I, and just A and B, if someone from staff is going to contact the Kings, I'm interested in see the traffic.
Is there a second?
Yeah.
Can we direct the city manager to take another look at our...
Yes.
I know that we've asked before, and I've been given different reasons about we didn't have council support. There was different reasons given to me over the last few years.
It's on a work session.
We have a work session coming up on it. We said we would do it.
We were going to, the last 2 weeks.
Is there in 2 weeks, I think it was.
To listen. Second. Absolutely.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Please vote. I think Josh said yes.
7 yes.
Okay, with that, I'll take a motion.
Motion to adjourn, Your Honor.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. This meeting is adjourned.
Aye.